Hello and welcome to the Executive Encore. I am Anna Wilds, and I have important information to share with you so you can have the time freedom and the money freedom you want and deserve. We're going to cover 3 powerful strategies for your next career. And your gift for attending today is this book. It is an excellent resource for people who want to be entrepreneurs, Solving the Problem of Owning a Franchise. This book is written by Dr. Robert Needham. He is both a JD and a PhD, and I want you to have this book as a thank you for joining us today. I'd like to start off by sharing my business story. I'm sure many of you have had rewarding and successful careers. Before I became a business owner, I really couldn't say that about myself. I went to a good business school. I had an MBA. I had worked for the Fortune 500, but it wasn't great. I experienced firsthand corporate politics, favoritism, office gossip, and that kind of thing. It was frustrating. I was unchallenged. My soul was slowly sucked out of me going to work every day, and I absolutely dreaded going to work. So I decided to do a career pivot and follow my dream of serving on active duty in the Air Force. And I absolutely loved it. I found a sense of purpose. I knew that my work was contributing to the greater good, and it was really wonderful until the worst year of my life, when I had a sabotaging boss who made sure that I would get passed over for promotion. And that is indeed what happened. And that was the end of my military career. And I was absolutely devastated. I really was. But then I decided to look at it not as an ending, but rather as a new beginning. And it turned out it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because I went from being in the military to being an entrepreneur. And that is where my life turned around. And I was able to gain the time freedom and the money freedom from being a business owner. And I devoted myself to doing that important work of helping other people become business owners and live a choice lifestyle like I had. And so for the last 20 years, I have devoted myself to pursuing my passion of helping people live lives they love living with the time freedom and the money freedom they want and deserve by being business owners. We're going to discuss 3 comprehensive strategies for an encore. I'm going to share with you 3 case studies of people that I've worked with over the years. I think you'll really resonate with their stories. Then we're going to bust some common myths people have about franchises. And then we're going to start doing some strategic planning for your future. And I'm going to share some of the key strategic insights that I've gained over my 20 years as a franchise advisor. And then we'll focus on developing a personalized action plan for you to move towards the life you love living in your executive encore. And then lastly, I'll share with you the next step to move forward. People who found my services helpful typically fall into one or more of the following categories. The first are people who are looking for an exit strategy from the corporate world. They're usually frustrated with where they are in their career. There are also people who just want to make a career change or make a career pivot. People also who are looking for a bridge to retirement, to cash flow them either to and or through retirement, also find my services very helpful. And lastly are people who are looking for an investment strategy. They're looking to diversify their assets, have another income stream, and they see owning a business is a good way to do that. I'm really excited to share with you 3 different people that I've worked with. Let me begin with Drayton. Drayton was the CEO of an industry that ended up being offshored, the entire industry. So there were no really jobs available for him. He was about 50 years old. He was a globetrotter. He said he missed more birthdays, anniversaries, performances, and games than he cared to count. But he took the bull by the horns. He decided to transfer from executive to entrepreneur. And what was the business that he went with? Well, he picked an IT services franchise. Now, I want you to know, Drayton did not have an IT services background at all. He used a computer for email. He used his smartphone to text and make phone calls, and that was kind of it. The reason I want to share with you about Drayton is the big takeaway is to focus on the role of the owner in any franchise you may select. That's the key to finding the right franchise for you. So what was the role of the owner of this IT services franchise? Well, it was for the owner to network in the business community and build and nurture relationships with business owners or decision-making executives at companies. Well, Drayton's superpower was people. He loved to talk to people, meet people, engage with people, and be out and about and involved in his community. That is why this IT services franchise was just such a perfect fit for him. And Drayton, as the business owner, he hired the technicians with the technical expertise that delivered the service to the customers. Drayton's job was to go out and get the customers, network in the business community, and that was his superpower. And that is why that particular franchise was such a great fit for him. Now, a second case study is with Bill. He was a senior executive at Procter & Gamble. His expertise was in marketing. Well, I knew that I would have to go with a big brand name that he had heard of. Okay, so what was the franchise that Bill went with? Well, are you on the edge of your seats? Are you ready for a great big surprise? Expect to be shocked. He went with a residential cleaning franchise. That's right, I said a maid franchise. Now, why in the world was that a great fit for Bill? Well, I'll tell you why. Bill had a handsome salary that he wanted to replace. So let's discuss the characteristics of a residential cleaning franchise. One, it's a repeat business. Customers use the service every 1, 2, or 4 weeks. They paid cash. This is not something you can order over Amazon. This is not something that can be obsoleted by technology. This is a service that people want and need, and especially post-COVID. Do you think the need and the demand for cleaning has gone down? No, it will continue to go up, and especially as people continue to put so much value on their time. Home cleaning has actually become a necessity, not a luxury. So when you have a customer and they're paying you cash every week or every 2 weeks or every month, you plug that into your spreadsheet and you can figure out your cash flow every week, every month, every year. It was almost like an annuity to Bill. That's how he viewed it. So these cash businesses with repeat loyal customers, that's a great way to go if you're looking to replace your income. All right, now I've got a third case study I want to tell you about. This is Blake. He works at Microsoft and he wanted to continue working at Microsoft. So he wanted a side hustle business. These are the most popular franchises. I call them manage the manager. So a full-time manager runs the business and the daily operations for the owner. The owner does not have to physically be there on a daily basis. The vast majority of franchises are owner-operator. That's what Drayton and Bill had. Those were full-time commitments. But Blake was only looking for franchise opportunities that had a part-time commitment because he already had a full-time job and was going to keep it. So there's certain franchises that lend themselves beautifully to manage the manager. Think hair salons, fitness studios, nail salons, beauty studios, those sorts of things. Because who are the workers? The people that run it are, if it's a beauty concept, estheticians or people who've gone to beauty school, people who know how to do hair and nails. Again, the business owner hires those people to deliver the service to the paying customer. Okay? And the same with fitness concepts. Personal trainers, this is their careers. They've gotten their certifications in this field, just like the technology people who get technical certifications. This is what they want to do for a living. So Blake went with a fitness studio, and it was a perfect fit for him because he was experienced hiring and managing people in his job at Microsoft. And so all three of these gentlemen worked on their businesses, leveraging their leadership, management, people, and business skills. None of them worked in the business. Drayton didn't work on computers. Bill did not push a vacuum or clean bathrooms. And Blake did not teach any fitness classes. Okay? The first one is franchises is nothing but fast food. Well, I just gave you 3 examples, and they had nothing to do with food. Fast food only accounts for, big drum roll here, 26% of all franchises. That's it. There are approximately 4,500 different franchises, and fast food is just 26%. All right, another common myth is that you need tons of money to own a franchise. Well, that is just not the case. In a couple of slides, you're going to see, I'm going to give you some minimum financial requirements, but that is absolutely not the case. Third is that you're buying yourself a job. Well, you can buy yourself a job if you want with a franchise. There are plenty of franchises where you do just that, but you don't have to. You can work on your business, like the 3 gentlemen in the slide before. They were in a management role, a supervisory role. They weren't involved in the daily operations. They were working on their business, not in the business. They had the role of a business owner. They executed their business plan, their marketing plan, ran their businesses by the numbers, and then led their teams and held them accountable for reaching their KPIs and their goals. And related to this is that you're tied to the business. You can't ever go on vacation. You work nights and weekends and that sort of thing. Well, that's probably an issue with the owner-operator, not with the franchise. Does that person have time management skills? Is that person properly capitalized, and are they hiring the appropriate staff and team members to run the business? Or are they wearing themselves ragged, filling two full-time positions at once? There is absolutely no franchise that has people working 100-hour weeks as the owner. If that's what's happening, I'm going to suggest it has to do with a lack of skills on the part of the business owner. Another preconceived notion is that franchisors, they get all the money. Well, they get 2 sources of money. They get a one-time upfront franchise fee. That's it. That gives you access to their business model, their marketing strategies, their systems, their training, their support. Okay, the rest is up to you. And they also get an ongoing royalty, which is a percentage of every revenue dollar collected. Revenue, not profit. Now, if that's going to be a problem for you, then don't do a franchise. Franchisor gets a one-time franchise fee, and they get an ongoing royalty on revenue. All right, then the last preconceived notion is that you can't find good workers. I'm going to spend a minute on this. 20 years ago when I began, that was the number one thing people were concerned about. 10 years ago, that was the number one thing people were concerned about. And of course, during COVID, that was an issue. But now we're past COVID. People are still saying that. And I've got a prediction. In 10 years, that's still going to be the number one concern of any business owner. And 20 years from now is going to be the concern of any business owner. It's human nature, okay, for there to be some turnover. Now, here's the thing. You as the owner it's important to present your place and run your place and develop a culture so that you're a place of choice to work, and giving your employees how you treat them. You know how you feel as an employee. You probably don't like how you've been treated by some of your bosses. So you know what not to do. You know that expression, do unto others, treat them how you want to be treated, right? That helps. Do you treat your employees as important as your customers? Do you give them the training they need, the equipment they need, the support that they need to do their job and do it well and to thrive? Right now, there are 3 franchise strategies I'm interested in sharing with you. The first I've mentioned is owner-operator. This is absolutely a full-time commitment. You do this as your career, as an entrepreneur. No other job, all right? Then the most popular that I work with, which is it's a small percentage of all franchise opportunities, but it's my area of expertise, is manage the manager. You may have seen this called part-time or semi-absentee ownership, but it's manage the manager. It can be either full or part-time. If you have, say, 10 locations and 10 managers to oversee, that may be more of a full-time commitment. Or once you get to a steady state and you have experienced managers in place, maybe one of them can be over all the other managers. But the point is, starting out, you'll determine your role based on the time commitment you want to make to your business. Is it going to be full-time or part-time? And if it's part-time, you have to be able to afford to hire the staff to run the business when you're not there. All right. And then lastly, in franchising, there's an absentee owner option or an investor option. Now, that requires very little time on the part of the investor, but it's a much bigger financial investment. And as you can see from looking at the slide, the more you are involved in your business, the less your money needs to be involved in the business. So an owner-operator who's working full-time in the business, the minimum financial requirements are $100,000 liquid capital and a net worth of $300,000. All franchises have minimum requirements based on liquidity and net worth. And that's kind of a built-in filter that you don't get in over your head financially. Now, for manage the manager, kind of a rule of thumb is to have $200,000 liquid capital and a net worth of $600,000. And if you're going to be an absentee owner or just an investor, then you're looking at more like $1 million investment. So you're looking at $300,000 liquidity and a net worth of at least $1 million. Now let's do some strategic planning for your future. And let's begin with the money part, the investment part. How much are you willing and able to invest to live a life you love living, that gives you the time freedom and the money freedom you want and deserve? Well, obviously there are 2 ways to fund a business: through equity options and through debt options, or you may like to do a combination of both. I have got excellent resources that I can refer you to for franchise funding, both debt and equity options. Just very quickly, equity options include the Rollover for Business Startup program. That's where you roll over retirement fund monies into a business that you own and operate yourself. All right, you're not robbing from your investment monies. This is your investment monies. You're just diversifying out of the stock market into another asset group, or specifically a business that can cash flow and grow and create wealth. Then debt options, very common, are SBA programs. There's a 7A program. There's an express loan program. And again, I've got resources I'm happy to refer you to. They can explain the details about these programs to you, but the point to start with is, as you strategically plan for your future, figure out how much you're willing and able to invest to live the lifestyle you love living. Now, I've been a franchise advisor and industry insider for 20 years now. And, why do people even go with a franchise? Well, there are two important reasons. Number one is to mitigate risk. If you want to minimize your risk, if you are risk averse, franchise is the way to go. Why? Because of the proven business model. Systems are in place. Training and support are there from day one. You lower your risk, not eliminate it, of going the franchise route. And then the second option, which can be the second reason someone goes with a franchise, can be optional. It's scalability. So if you open up one location of, say, of a fitness center, well, you'll go through the tough learning curve that first year, learn all about the operations, how it works, what the KPIs and key metrics are, and you know how to run it. Well, then if you had a second or a third or a sixth or a 10th, it's just wash, rinse, and repeat. That's what someone named Mitch described it as. Someone I had worked with who was also in the corporate world, working killer hours, like 12-hour days, had a baby and a wife who also worked, and it just was not the right lifestyle for him as a family man. So he looked at being a franchise business owner to have the work-life balance. It was so very important to him and his wife and his child. But what does it take to be a successful franchise business owner? Well, these are some insights that I've gained as I've watched many, many people from all kinds of backgrounds, different educational backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds. These are the things that they have in common. And the things that are in bold are especially important. So I'll mention those to you. Your perception of risk and security. No one's going to change that. We can't dangle a franchise in front of you and convince you that going the franchise route is less risky than maybe sticking with your steady job. That is something you have to decide on your own. If control over your future, your time, the money you make is super important to you, if that's a motivating factor, then it's probably worth exploring franchises to find the one that's right for you. I've never seen anybody move forward with a franchise who wasn't driven by that need for control and independence and freedom and flexibility. Those were the big drivers, getting them to leave what they were doing and transition into entrepreneurship. And another thing that I'm just going to emphasize again is be sure to focus on your transferable skills and match the role of the franchisee to your superpower, like Drayton did, like Blake did. Drayton went with the IT services company, but he didn't know IT. He knew people and meeting people and networking with people and building relationships. That was his superpower. And Blake knew how to manage managers, and he leveraged that while keeping his day job. So I encourage you to do the same. And then the last big insight, and it's huge, is if you're married or have a partner, absolutely engage that person in the franchise discovery process, which is another way of saying the franchise granting process. Franchisors know this is a big decision you're considering. Frankly, it's life-changing. It's going to affect your marriage. It's going to affect your money. It's going to affect retirement, when you can retire, and the manner in which you can retire. It's really too big of a decision to make on your own. So I strongly encourage you to include your spouse or partner in the whole process. Now, before we leave this slide, I want to make one more point. These factors are integral to success. But one of the things I want to be very clear about is the business doesn't make you a success. You make the business a success. The franchisor will give you the business model, the marketing strategy, the operational format, the technology, the systems and processes, plus training and support, all from the very beginning. The rest is up to you. When I was a child, there was this thing we did. Here's the church, here's the steeple, open the door, see all the people. Well, a franchise is a business in a box. Literally, the only thing missing are the people. They need employees, and they need customers, and someone to be the owner. That's it. So here's the big question. Is a franchise right for you? Well, I have a plan for you to find out. And this is how it would begin. The very first thing we would do would be to build your business model based on your preferences as a business owner. And we would take factors like the hours you want to work into consideration. Is this going to be a full-time or a part-time venture for you? Who do you want your customers to be? Who do you want your employees to be? What role do you want to play in the business? What are your transferable skills? And important considerations like that. So once we build your business model, well, then I know what to look for because we've just built a template, and I can go off and do extensive research on franchises and then come back with recommendations that fit your model. So as we close, I want you to know that I would love for you to live a life you love living. I want you to have the time freedom and the money freedom you want and deserve. If you are ready to explore if a franchise can take you from executive to entrepreneur, go to this link on the screen to schedule a confidential strategic session with me. I'll read that to you. It's growthelevationgroup.com/meet Anna Wilds. So again, that's growthelevationgroup.com/meet Anna Wilds. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to answer your questions, and I especially would love to help you find the right business for you. And I definitely encourage you to visit my website. It is chock full of free resources on entrepreneurship, franchises, their videos, frequently asked questions, a world of information for you. I've got an especially good under the resources tab, great information on franchise funding. So go check that out as well. Let's continue this conversation, okay? I'm passionate about helping you have the time and money freedom that you want. Now go again to growthelevationgroup.com/meet Anna Wilds. Give yourself the gift you dream about. I'm Anna Wilds, franchise advisor and your #1 cheerleader. Thank you for joining.